Welcome to Flow State. Today I'm going to be reacting a video from Strong Successful Male called Wife Thought Husband Was a Doormat Until He Showed Everyone Graphic Evidence of Her Adventures. I've never seen this and I've never seen his channel. So let's do it.
Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male.
Right off the bat, it's try hard as fuck. Strong Successful Male is a tacky name. It's a tacky little intro guitar riff. And this is a tacky look.
So for today, I have the story for you. A story that, in my opinion, is way more entertaining than the Super Bowl, commercials, and definitely you guys are going to find quite entertaining. This is about a guy, a husband,
Sunglasses make us strong and successful.
who shares his story from a few years ago, how he catches his wife having an affair with a coworker, and let me tell you, this dude handles things like a boss. And I might add, goes completely scorched earth. In fact, he goes scorched earth. There may be some of you that think that he went too far, which you're just going to have to wait and hear the whole story here, and you all can debate in the comments section about this. I'll be really going to go over here, guys, for all you guys out there that have been married or in serious relationships, and in your honest view were a good, loyal, loving husband or boyfriend, and found out the thanks you got for all your loyalty and good nature
Shots him.
was to be cheated on. And you're going to see here, this guy, things end up quite well for him in the end. So this is obviously a longer one, as you can see at the bottom, so I'm going to jump right into it. And by the way, guys, I've been on YouTube for a couple days. I had to take a couple days off for a family matter. Things are stabilized, if you will, so I appreciate your patience, and always I really appreciate all you guys. So it starts off, says here, hi SSM. I've been a subscriber since COVID and figured that I'd share my story with you. While it's definitely not as crazy as some of the stories I've heard on your channel, I think it's different than most in the way that I handle things. It's not insane crazy, but you handle things definitely like a boss, which is, rare in the grand scheme of things. For some background here, I met my wife when I was 24 years old and she was 19. We got serious, got married, had 2 kids in a relatively short period of time. Smack! Why the rush? Take your time, gentlemen.
I haven't seen any of his videos, but I did scroll through and just look at the thumbnails and titles. This whole channel it's a cringy attempt. I mean, this dude's not strong. He's a nerd. He's a nerd with sunglasses and a tight shirt on. Tightish shirt on. But, the little forced smirk, the gentleman, schmack, gentleman, I'm not buying it. He's not strong. He might be successful, I don't know. His channel's definitely bigger than mine. He's probably a male, but he's a nerd. You're a nerd, bro. Just earn it. Or, I'm sorry, own it. Just own it. Confidence is, for women, the most attractive feature that you can have, bar none. It's basically, in my opinion, it's the entirety of attractiveness. There are some ugly ass, broke ass dudes who pull tons of chicks because they're confident. This guy's not confident. He's not being himself. He's putting on bravado, a show. He's trying to be what he thinks confidence looks like, but it is unnatural. It's not fitting of him. Also, getting cheated on by your wife and then going and running to this guy to tell your story to, that's not boss behavior. Also, the marriage. He was 24, she was 19, and this dude smacks because he thinks that's too young. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I am a believer in, I believe that couples that grow together stay together. I know that there's a lot of manosphere advice out there that you've got to have all your ducks in a row before you get in a relationship. Have your career done, have your money, have da-da. And I don't believe in that. I think that there's a lot of value in growing and building together.
I went to college and got a decent job with potential for a good career. I always made enough money for us to live reasonably well, not rich though, on my salary alone. She did not go to college, she never had any issues holding a job, but she never had a high-paying one either. After our first son was born, she stopped working to stay at home to be a full-time mother. Then we had our daughter, and that meant that she was completely finishing with work. We spent the next 15 years living a fairly normal life, and we're a relatively normal family. Okay, so you took care of everything. She was a stay-at-home mom, raised the kids, all that. So I'm guessing you were definitely, at least when all this goes down here, you were no doubt in probably your maybe mid-40s, and she was probably early 40s. I don't know how old you are now, but picking up to the point, the kids were in high school, and she had been working again for about the last 2 years, the same type of job she'd always been. This incident happened while we were at home one afternoon. We were sitting on the deck, watching the dog run around the backyard like a lunatic. The kids were both in school. She stood up, pulled her phone out, and started making a video of the dog. I stood right behind her, put my arms around her stomach, and lowered my chin to rest on her shoulder. So one of these tender moments, taking it all in, the dog, the backyard, the life, and watch what happens. I went back and forth between watching the dog directly and looking at him through her phone. It was after about 10 seconds that she received a drop-down message notification. It wasn't from a number, so it was clearly someone in her contacts. But since my eyes focused on the text, I didn't see the sender. She pushed it up with her thumb extremely fast. While it was too fast for me to read it, I definitely caught a few words, particularly wild and next time. Well, most people, I'm sure, would stop and see what the message is all about, if it was some random thing. So she's like, oops, what timing, huh? I asked, who was it? And she said, I don't know. Bullshit. Boom. That was when my instincts immediately went into high alert. In all our years together, she had never done or said anything that filled my stomach and me with such instant apprehension and dread. I momentarily became physically weak. My mind exploded with many simultaneous thoughts, such as, how do you not know? I brushed off texts from people in the exact same manner plenty of times. I couldn't possibly not know who was sent by, even if I tried. You can't help but instantly recognize the sender in just a tiny fraction of a second. Number 2. There's no way that this is an inconsequential dog video. It takes priority over an incoming text of an unknown nature. She already had many short videos of the dog on her phone. While they were all nice, no individual video was so special or precious that it would really matter much if it was deleted. Number 3, I instantly recalled an incident from a couple years prior that I didn't think much of at the time. To keep it short, I'll just say that she acted a little out of character when I wanted to use her phone. My battery had just died. I don't know if I said a couple years or a couple weeks before. Okay. Between those thoughts and those words I caught, I realized I had to act right now. I put my hand on her phone and squeezed it with enough strength that made it clear that I was taking it from her. As soon as she protested, I took it by force. She attempted to resist at first, but immediately realized the futility of that.
Took it by force. I mean, you know what? Let me not assume. Let me just give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he did just barely squeeze it and then take it out, and the resistance was not violent.
You can't take my phone! I took her phone inside, put in her password, and that's when the second gut punch hit me. And as you probably guessed, the password had been changed. Of course it has. And meanwhile, she's probably banging on the freaking door. Let me in! Let me in! To put that into context, neither of us had ever used anything but the same passwords before. In all the years we've been...
See, the problem with these that I have with these manosphere women hate channels is that they make it sound like this is something that happens to everybody, right? Like, this dude's pretending to be strong and successful. He's pretending to, I assume be an expert or a guru or whatever he is in this capacity. And the way in which he presents the story just normalizes this shit out of bad, dysfunctional, cheating relationships. Normalizes the shit out of women being sleazy. In reality, people are sleazy. And it's not a universal experience. I've been in serious relationships exclusively since I was 20. For 17 years, I've been in exclusive serious relationships. And I've never had this situation happen. I've never had to take a phone and run off with it.
Together. Whether it was our smartphones, laptops, or desktops, there was nothing insignificant. Then I asked her what her password was, the third gut punch. Rather than give it to me, she asked why. I'm sure that to many of you, changing your password and asking why may seem perfectly normal, but not to us. Given the nature of our relationship over the last 20 years, this is practically a de facto confession that something horrible had happened.
All right, so they've already had this issue before. She's cheated before.
And all the evidence was right in her phone. All the secrets of the world can be found in someone's phone or browser history.
Don't buy another pair of glasses until you've seen what this new invention can do. These self-adjustable...
Halfway competent cheater will not have any evidence in their browser history or their phone. And what obviously is the case, but that the writer glossed over is that they've obviously had incidents with her cheating before. That's why the password thing.
I answered her with the, so I can inspect every single thing that you have on here. She then stuttered and stammered like she knew she needed to say something, but had no idea what. I cut her off and told her at point blank that I was keeping her phone, and she wouldn't get it back until after I went through it. So this guy, he's not messing around, and good for him. And clearly she's shocked by this. This is not what she expected if she were ever to get caught. Clearly she didn't plan on this. She then said, why are you doing this? I answered with, what's the password? And she answered with something that neither of us had ever heard, or so I thought I ever would hear. None of your business. I'm making it my business, Sugar Muffin. At this point, I realized that the conversation was absolutely pointless. I grabbed my jacket and started to head out. She asked me, where was I going? And I couldn't help but throw her words right back at her, and I said, none of your business. I knew I had to get her phone unlocked. While I certainly am a competent guy, I am not a tech guy, and I didn't know where to begin. Can I do it myself? Do I go to Verizon? Do I go to Apple? Do I go to a third party? Will there be legal concerns? Then I immediately thought of an absolute diabolical idea. My wife was clearly terrified at the thought of me leaving by myself with her phone, so I invited her to come along with me. She asked, where are we going? And I just said, just for a drive. She agreed, and I told her I didn't want to talk about anything, so the drive was quiet. Meanwhile, I'm kind of surprised she's not, trying to tackle you in the front yard in front of the neighbors for her phone. As far as I was concerned, the silent drive just added to my belief that she had done something unspeakable. If you think about it, my behavior over the last 20 minutes was absolutely out of control. If she was innocent, she would have been horrified and furious at what I was doing to her. But no, instead of telling me what a monster I was and expressing her shock and disbelief that I was even capable of behaving in this way, it seemed like her only genuine concern was what would ultimately happen with her phone. Well, I've done plenty of stories when the wives, girlfriends, whatever, were guilty as hell, but they still put on the act that, you're such a monster, you're such an a-hole, how dare you not trust me? You all get the point. So just because she wasn't doing that doesn't mean that, I drove to a pub.
And why would she do that? Obviously, not, if not sharing the password is de facto admission of cheating in their relationship because she's done it before, then she knows. There is no, oh my gosh, why are you acting this way? Right? It makes perfect sense. She just broke a pre-existing agreement.
Public park, located about 3 miles from the house. Since it was a weekday and the weather was chilly, the park was practically empty. I opened the door and got out without saying anything. She started to say something, but I completely ignored her. Then she got out of the car and started coming around to my side. After she took a few steps, I quickly opened my door, got back in the car, and locked the doors. Well, you mentioned it's cold outside. She became absolutely distraught and asked what I was doing. I told her she was either going to give me the password or I was going to leave her here with no phone and no ride. So, this is funny, but you all can imagine how this could go very bad for him if you think about it. In hindsight, it really was a shame that I wasn't in the right state of mind to properly enjoy and appreciate her absolutely epic and glorious meltdown. Considering that I was only 30 minutes into what was ultimately the absolute destruction of my life, as I knew it, I wasn't able to enjoy any satisfaction whatsoever. At least I was fortunate enough to witness it. At that point, I started to feel a little bit guilty and began to second-guessing myself. But those thoughts were immediately dismissed by the realization that she should have ended all this, and she could have ended this at any moment, but simply giving me the password. Because you're having a battle of wills here, man, and she's not going to budge. I told her through the barely cracked window that I was going to get in her phone to go through everything, and that nothing could be done to stop me. Then I told her that the only thing she has any control over is whether she gets a ride back to the house or gets stranded. And of course, the only way to get a ride home was to give me the password. Dude, you're not effing around, are you? You have to play hardball. That's what is respected. That's just it is what it is. I then started the car and told her that I'll be driving away in 10 seconds and I wouldn't be looking back. After 10 seconds, I put the car in drive, took my foot off the brake, and the car slowly started moving forward. She's still standing her ground. She's not budging. I was quite concerned that she would throw herself in front of the car to stop me. That'd actually be pretty funny. You're driving away and she's on the windshield, you know? Thankfully, she did not. After the car slowly rolled a few feet, she finally gave me the password. It's about fucking time, you stubborn jackass. I stopped, put the car in park, and unlocked the phone. I told her that I wouldn't let her in until after I went through everything. Then I shut the window. She tried talking loud, so I just blasted the radio. She shut up, walked away, and sat on the park bench. I finally started digging through her phone. It turns out that she has been having you-know-what with a coworker. Upon confirming this, I became ill and had to stop looking at the phone. I took a moment to regain focus, then continued. It didn't take long for me to find a picture of them. He looked like he was only a few years older than our son.
I mean, I think this whole story is unnecessary. It's not that good a story. The dude's clearly... He got his confirmation, right? That's the important part that was glossed over in the story, is that he got his confirmation. She had changed the password. She refused to share the code. This whole thing is, that confirms it, right? All the rest of this shit is unnecessary. And I really don't think it's playing that much hardball to drive her out somewhere and then threaten her with no ride back, you know.
So that a young...
I mean, if that's boss behavior, I don't know. Boss behavior would have been to, well, get rid of her the first time, or get rid of her when she had changed the password and didn't give it to you. You don't need to have all this drama.
Guy at work is getting some cougar action. Your wife's probably in her early 40s at this point, and he's only a few years older than your son, so he's like half her age, half your age. And probably her big giant ego boost to make her feel like she's not getting old and she's still attractive. Pension validation, you get the point. And you got all the info right here. I wasn't interested in details like how long it had been going on and what kind of feelings she had for him. Instead, I needed to find the most damaging things that I could so that I could absolutely destroy and humiliate her to every single person that she knew. And guys, he's not joking. He's not exaggerating here. I told you, Scorched Earth. I went to the private folder of her photos that requires you to re-enter the password. I immediately found more pictures along with a short video that made me absolutely sick. These morons record, it never ceases to amaze you. They record actions and store them on their phones. You know darn well she's showing this to like her fucking girlfriends. They're all comparing notes.
I doubt that.
At this point, I realized I couldn't give her back the phone, and there was absolutely no way I was letting her back in the car. So I did exactly what I promised her I wouldn't do. If she gave me her password...
Girl talk is graphic. Girls describe things in way more detail than guys do. But married people in relationships who are cheating and hiding it, not everybody hides their cheating really, but who are cheating and hiding it, they tend to try to hide it, actually.
I drove off and left her stranded without her phone. I didn't even look back in the mirror. Again, this could have blown up in his face. Fortunately, did not.
How?
Upon arriving home, I changed the password on her phone so that only I could access it. I decided that would be keeping her phone indefinitely. I sent the video, the pictures, and the screenshots.
I don't know that could have blown up in his face. Like, what could she have done? Is that illegal? What law? He didn't break any law that I'm aware of.
Some of the text to my phone, then to my email, so I had multiple copies in case anything were to somehow disappear. My son came home while I was doing this, and I figured there was no point in waiting. I said, sit down, I gotta tell you something major. So, you are immediately you're controlling the narrative. You're not letting her get to the kids first or anybody else. That's the smart way to go.
No, you're not. You're being reactive.
I told him point blank that I just discovered that his mom has been having you-know-what with
Being reactive and being in control are different.
A young 20-something from her work.
And then hurling it at your kids reactively hurts them to hurt him. To hurt her, I'm sorry. it's damaging for everybody. This is not a well thought out approach. This is a reactive emotional approach. And it sounds to me like bad parenting to just, guess what your mom did? Guess who she was fucking?
And that is something that most people might think was outrageously inappropriate, and I don't disagree. Gee, can you guys all guess what he's about to do here? I figured it out the first time.
He's bragging. Whoever wrote this letter is bragging. He's very proud of himself. And I don't know why. I'm not sure why.
I'm reading it. But I don't care either. I held up her phone and showed him a picture of the two of them together completely.
See, that's some bullshit right there. That's some fucking bullshit.
Naked. Something no kid ever wants to see. His mom butt naked, probably with her mouth in certain places that we don't want to think about our mothers doing.
That's some fucked up parenting right there.
Have you?
My son was in absolute shock. Yeah, no shit, Dad. And had no words. I told him that none of this would have an effect on our relationship. I don't know about that, dude. You're showing again a picture of his mom getting plowed in many which ways to the son. He may think a little differently of you for showing him that. Yeah, ain't gonna go out of his head. He's gonna have to be fucking hypnotized or something to get that shit out of his head.
Fuck yeah, it'll affect your relationship. I'd be pissed. If I were that kid, I would be fucking livid. I'd be on mom's side if dad just showed me that.
Every time his mom wants to give him a kiss, he'd be like, oh shit, she used the fucking Aquafresh? Then I told him that I was sorry to have to say this, but the truth is that his mother is nothing but a dirty W-H-O-R-E. I'm going to divorce her immediately. I told him that he'd be free to live with whichever one of us he wants to. Gee,
Mom.
Tough decision. I told him that I was sorry to be dropping all this on him out of nowhere, but I just discovered all this myself only a couple hours ago. I told him that the picture I showed him was one of many, and that his mother's phone had more than enough indisputable evidence, including a video, to prove that everything I told him was 100% true. Then I told him that he was free to look through the phone himself. I think one picture is enough, Dad, for him to get the fucking point. But I understood if he didn't want to. You think? He did not. He said the picture was all he needed to see. I asked him how I should tell his sister. Probably not showing her the pictures again. He said that he would take care of that, and I agreed. My wife eventually made it home. To this day, I don't know how or care how. You think? He did not. He said the picture was all he needed to see. I asked him how I should tell his sister. Probably not showing her the pictures again. He said that he would take care of that, and I agreed. My wife...
No shit. Good. That's a good fucking brother move.
Eventually made it home.
At least someone in that family is looking out for that girl.
To this day, I don't know how or care how. I told her not even to think about speaking to me, and to take everything she needed from my bedroom and move into the spare bedroom. Well, good for you. In all these stories, usually it's the husband that moves into the fucking spare bedroom or the cottage.
I mean, you should have kicked her out.
Or the goddamn couch in the basement that's, 75 years old. No, she can leave. Good.
Leave the whole house.
And to take everything she needed from my bedroom, blah, 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 my son just looked at her in disbelief, and of course, the waterworks began. Of course. When all else fails, Niagara Falls. He told her to stay away from him, and she went directly upstairs. A while later, our daughter arrived home. My son immediately took charge and told her to come outside with him for a moment. Yeah, because your son didn't want you to show more of your wife's adventures on her phone.
Shit.
He grabbed his mother's phone, so I gave him the password. I couldn't hear anything my son said, but oh my God, I could hear my daughter. Okay, maybe he did show her. The wife obviously could too, because the cries from upstairs were loud and clear in the kitchen. Oh, I can only imagine the noise coming from the spare bedroom where she was. Ooh! It's like, shut the fuck up! I'm watching the playoffs. The next few days were surprisingly uneventful. The wife stayed away from me, the kids ignored her, and she actually didn't spend all her time begging for forgiveness. At least not after her initial attempts were rejected. She just stayed in the guest room, only leaving to eat and use the bathroom. We had a landline in the house, and she was able to call her work and tell them that she needed time off. She used the landline just enough that her cell phone wasn't getting blown up by people trying to reach her. I think that one reason she kept to herself and didn't bother me was that my behavior when I took her phone from her generally terrified her. In a way, she was coming to terms with the realization that I wasn't the person she thought I was, just like I was about her. In other words, she probably never in a million years thought that you would handle things the way you did in terms of when the thing popped up on the phone and you were suspicious. She didn't expect that. And also you going scorched earth. And by the way, we're not done with him scorching earth, guys. We're just getting started.
Of course she expected it. That's why she swiped so fast. That's why she denied the code. Probably, I would guess she didn't expect him to turn their marital issue into an absolute shit show of showing his kids pictures of her having sex. That's fucked up.
The kids were handling surprisingly well. Other than completely ignoring her mom, my son acted relatively normal. My daughter was more upset. She referred to her mother as the WHORE. Upon hearing that, I slightly chuckled in a low-key way that made it clear.
I bet it wasn't very low-key. The dude's obviously still proud. And I've got to wonder, given the nature of this letter and the tone of it, if they weren't just telling him what they knew that he wanted to hear, because he's clearly a narcissist. Narcissistic as fuck.
Appreciate my blessing to use that term. You know, it's likely that your son is more likely to forgive the mom, or at least move on, have a relationship with her than the daughter. Because while I've done plenty of stories where the daughters stick with the mothers, there's other stories where the daughters who truly have a great relationship with their fathers, when they find out what the mother's done to the father and the family, there ain't no forgiving the mother from the daughter. Oh. And I know a lot of you guys have heard those stories. I'm very thankful that nothing like this ever happened when the kids were younger. I put a keyed lock on my bedroom door so she had absolutely no access.
Something like that did happen when they were younger. That's why that little line that he glossed over, that not giving the passcode, was essentially treated as a confession. It did happen when they were younger. You just didn't deal with it. And this response is not dealing with it. Why the fuck is she still in the house? Why the fuck would you show that shit to anyone? Why the fuck are you encouraging or approving of your kids talking shit about their mom like that? I get it that dude's mad, but he's also got responsibilities to the kids, for instance. And even if you don't care about your kids at all, right? Let's say he doesn't care about his kids at all, and he's completely a piece of shit. If we get into like a court situation, I'm pretty sure that's child abuse. You're not allowed to show kids porn. You're not allowed to give kids porn. That's contributing to the delinquency of a minor, I believe is what the law is called, at least in my state. So he gave kids porn, but not only was it was porn of their mom. No judge is going to be cool with that. Nobody should be cool with that.
I also had taken off work. At first, I just stayed mostly in my room, thinking about things and digging more into her phone. The digging didn't turn up anything new. After a couple days, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I was ready to finally start destroying her. We had a small friend group that consists of couples. I called my closest friend from the group and told him everything. I sent him two of the most humiliating pictures she had, along with screenshots of a few texts, and told him that nothing would make me happier than him sharing them with everyone. Remember, gentlemen, these pictures on her phone didn't appear by magic. She willingly archived her events with this young lad and stored him on her phone.
Say goodbye to old, costly cable TV once and for all. This revolutionary invention gives you access to your favorite channel.
I know that from a legal standpoint, that was not a good idea. But at that particular moment, I didn't give a crap at all. I was expecting her phone to start blowing up at some point, but no, it's like everyone just cut her off without even trying to reach out to her. To this day, I'm still friends with some of them. None of them talk to her.
Nobody wants to be involved in your relationship issues. How would he know if she talks to them, first of all? Second of all, I assume that he was interacting with dudes, right? In couple groups. The guys normally communicate with the guys and the girls with the girls. She might be communicating with all of them. All the women. I'm assuming, I hope that they're broken up now. I would kind of guess that he's communicating with them less too. Nobody wants to be in the friend group with somebody who's going to drag them into all their drama when it happens.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, the ones that you don't talk to, I wonder if the wives knew what was going on or were up to no good themselves. Who knows? Next, I had to tell her parents. Oh, Jesus. I decided to tell her mother, and that her mother could handle telling her father. As I had done with my friend, I sent her mother the 2 pictures in the same text. I told her I had plenty more, including a graphic video, that I would happily send upon a request. She declined. I think your mother-in-law got the point with the 2 pictures.
Dude, nobody's going to be mad at her. I know that this letter says that everybody's mad at her. And I'm sure that tone continues. I bet not. I bet that they're mad at him. I bet all these people will take her side in the divorce. Because if you send somebody pictures of their kid having sex, show their mom having sex, just start blasting these out, you have forced them into the situation in a way that they didn't want to be brought into it. It was not handled with any class or any tact at all. It was handled, well, like shit. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, sorry, man, you've been married to that. I can see why you would cheat. I can't believe you stayed married to a dude that's this way.
I always had a positive relationship with the in-laws, so it was unfortunate I had to say what I had to say next. I let her know that while I was allowing her to be the one to tell her husband out of respect, I would take matters in my own hands if she did not. I would not allow for him to be unaware of what was actually happening. I asked her not to give him the watered-down version of events. Correct. I also let her know that I would not tolerate him being told anything that even remotely suggested that I bore any blame.
Man, this dude's a fuck up. I guarantee he does not have anybody in his corner. Not at all. You don't make friends by threatening. He's trying to humiliate his ex or his wife, which he is doing. He's humiliating her. But he's presenting this as if he's the good guy and the victim. He's not, bro. Whoever wrote this letter, you're a piece of shit. And everybody knows it. Probably nobody wants to tell you that they know it, right? They're probably all going along with it, like your kids especially, because you are such a reactive narcissist. Clearly you have some blame. Clearly you overlooked an earlier incident, and clearly, well, you're just not a man. Strong, successful male. I would expect a strong, successful male to be able to recognize a loser when he reads his letter.
Yeah, and if you weren't careful, believe me,
But I would also expect a strong, successful male not to have to title his channel Strong, Successful Male. You'd be able to pick that up on your own.
wife would have twisted the story a bit. You're the reason she cheated. So he works too much or whatever. I also let her know that her grandkids already knew and they saw their mother's phone. So it was inevitable that giving her husband an accurate version of events would ultimately backfire at some point, or inaccurate version of the events would
He told grandma that he'd shown that shit to the kids. That's fucking... This dude's a moron.
backfire at some point in the future. She was absolutely appalled that I let the kids see the phone.
No shit.
Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't have shown the son and the kids the pictures. I would have made it clear. And if they didn't believe you, that's not true, Dad. I got proof. No, not my mother. Okay, son, here she is. There's your mom's mouth. Then...
No, if they don't believe you, you just go, okay, whatever. It's not important at this juncture that you believe me. We're getting divorced, right? You can deny it all you want, but I'm divorcing your mom. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. But then you have to ask yourself, why is Dad just divorcing Mom out of nowhere? And whether it's now, a month from now, a year from now, you'll come to terms with the fact that what happened happened.
And only then would I do that. But I wouldn't willingly, even as pissed off as I would be. That's the only thing. I know there's going to be a lot of agreements and disagreements about that particular subject there. They deserve to know. But if they wanted to see the pictures, fine.
Nobody wants to see this. If they wanted to see those pictures, they need therapy.
I told her I understand. I agree that it probably was appalling. But I also told her that I have no regrets about doing it. I told her that my top priority was to make sure that the kids knew the truth and were not giving any false versions of what happened. And then
your main priority was to attack and hurt your wife. And the fastest way to do that was make this process as painful for everybody as possible. This dude is a bitch.
Ended the call on good terms. Sadly, I haven't communicated with either of them ever since. It is unfortunate because he said he had a good relationship with him, but at the end of the day, you know, they may be really pissed off and disappointed in their daughter, but they're going to choose her, of course. Well, most of the time. After that, I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer. All right. To be honest, this is kind of where the story ends. I said that because nothing really crazy or dramatic happened from that point on. The wife moved in with her parents and still lives with them to this day. She didn't contest the divorce. She could have gotten alimony, but the kids told her that they would hate her guts forever if she came after my money, after destroying our family.
God damn, the amount of narcissistic abuse those kids are enduring. Why would kids be involved in that? Why would they be aware of that at all? Unless dad drug them into it, like he did, obviously, with the photos, and blatantly encouraged them to do that. No kid is sitting around just autonomously, just on their own. My parents are getting divorced. I just had to see pictures of my mom getting fucked. I hope she doesn't take any of dad's money. That's not something that's going to pop into a kid's head. They likely don't even know what the fuck alimony is.
Holy shit. Those are some loyal kids. Good job. I'm sure their
kids.
Christmas presents and birthday presents were quite generous the following year.
Probably.
Her parents are fairly wealthy, and she's the only
Narcissists are like that. Little carrot, little stick.
child, which means she's a spoiled asshole.
What do you say?
She's just fine financially. Part of me wished that her parents had come down on my presents were quite generous the following year. Her parents are fairly wealthy, and she's the only child, which means she's a spoiled asshole. She's just fine financially. Part of me wished that her parents had come down on much harder on her, but then again, maybe I'd be paying alimony if they had. Yes, exactly. Both kids lived with me until they eventually moved out. I sold the house and gave the WHORE. He says, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Half the profit, as was our agreement per the divorce. It was a hefty sum, and yes, you bet your ass, I kept the dog. R.I.P. Buster. Darn right, you should keep the dog. Yes, R.I.P. Buster. Eventually, the kids let their mother back into their lives, but it was never quite the same. My son put it best when he told me that he had forgiven her, but he would never forget.
That's of course what you would expect to say. He knows what the right answer is.
I've stayed single, having had a couple flings since then, but nothing more than that. The kids are doing just fine. You know, after 2 decades of being married and busting your ass and being a good loyal husband and everything you did, I can certainly understand why you have. Notice he didn't just say I've been married. I haven't had any relationships either. He's been single ever since. Who could blame him? Bro, I don't know how old you are now. You're probably at the very least late 40s, if not 50s. You got plenty of good life to live. And why ever consider getting married again? Or, you know, do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. Sorry.
So here's where that's something that I agree with. Weak loser male. It's he should not get married. The dude who wrote that letter should not get married again. But it's not because he doesn't deserve it, or you know he deserves better, or because all marriages suck. It's because he's a fucking creep.
Sorry if the ending was anticlimactic, dude.
And if she wasn't 19, she was 19 and he was 24. Marrying him was her big mistake. She fucked up there and got with a loser. This dude isn't able to snag somebody who's old enough to see through the bullshit and see what a piece of shit he is.
This is a good story. But despite her horrible and treasonous behavior, my ex was not an evil monster, like so many women in your videos are. I'm going to come back to that one. That's all I got. Thanks for what you do, SSM. To me, you have the best qualities Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate without any of the bad, all in one package. I wish you the best of health, wealth, and happiness, and on the off chance I run into you, the IPA is on me. Well, thank you, sir. That was a great story. I really enjoyed that, and holy crap. But your part when you said here, I'm going to read this again. But despite her horrible and treasonous behavior, my ex is not an evil monster, like so...
I bet she's not. I bet she's not an evil monster.
So many of the women in your videos are. Well... Believe me, I've read stories when, believe me, they were like the spawn of the devil himself. However, she's no fucking saint. After all those years that you were married and you took care of her and you took everything, and Lord knows how long this was going on. You said yourself...
We don't know how much he took care of her. He said that she was fucking a coworker. Obviously, they're both... I assume they're both employed. We know that she is. He never said shit about his job. So, we can't assume that he took care of her. I think the biggest thing that she can be faulted with here is for not having had the courage to break up with him earlier, before this shit all melted down.
You're like, you know what, I don't know how long it's been going on. I got the proof right here what's been going on in the present. You have no idea how long things were going on, how she's been lying to you and everything, and all the bullshit that she was, you know, the whole, how difficult she made for you to get the information out, and then, you know what I mean, and the fact that she was effing that guy, taking pictures, videos, and how long that could have gone on, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, that the relationship probably started about the time that the first photo showed up on her phone. Maybe a little after, because you don't really film the first fuck.
If the kids didn't know and joined forces with you and say, if she would try to rake you over the coals in the divorce process, you know, your kids say they never forgive her, never talk to her again. If your kids didn't stand up to you, it could have been a lot worse. So I wouldn't say that she's this evil monster like in many stories, but she is, in my opinion, a piece of garbage on many fronts. And, you know, so, but anyhow, that's beside the point. Well, anyhow, bro, you handle this like a boss. You really did just go scorched earth. And I'm glad, I'm sorry it happened. I mean, Jesus, you obviously expected to have, you know, till death do you part, but clearly no, she was with her younger guy. And I gotta wonder, honestly, if it was about the young sausage or just the attention and validation and the butterflies from the young sausage. Who knows? But you know what? You're free, you're on your own, and you still got plenty of, you could be in your 50s, and if you take care of yourself and you're doing well, you're considered a prize and a catch. You're still at the end of the prime. God. Her prime is bye-bye a long time ago, and she's just staying with mom and dad. But anyhow, I hope you're doing well. I hope your kids are doing well, and I wish you a great life. But anyhow, guys, this guy handled it like a boss. Give this guy a shout out in the comment section for his boss behavior and his scorched earth method. And I'd like to hear, guys, do you think he went too far, particularly with showing the kids the pictures? Like not saying, I got proof right here if you want to see it. No, here, son. And your son's like, oh, Jesus. I don't know what you think about that. He went too far. Let's debate here in the comments.
All right. Dude's a loser. The dude in the letter's a loser. He's a little reactive, emotional, narcissistic bitch. He handled it like a total bitch. He handled the whole relationship too late. Obviously, it was a dysfunctional relationship. There had been cheating incidents before. He didn't handle it. She also didn't address the situation until it was out of control. Both of them are at fault there. From there on, I didn't see anything but an emotional, hostile, reactive, angry little man, spreading as much misery around to as many people as he possibly could. There is no way anybody involved in that is actually on his side. There's a 100% chance, though, that all of them will tell him they're on his side because he's not worth dealing with, obviously. Kept the dog's dead. The dog's dead, he sold the house, kids are grown, and he hasn't had a single serious relationship since then. What he did is not only illegal, it's abusive, right? Like there's no way the kids are actually more mad at her for cheating on him than they are at him for putting them through that. The dude's just too narcissistic to recognize it. And that is the nature of narcissism, is that it's delusional. There's delusions of grandiosity, and that includes in a virtuous way. Narcissism is weird because they're the only type of people who can be simultaneously the hero and victims. But he's managed to do it, right? He's the hero, he's the badass, and he's also the victim in this story, at least as he portrays it. But these delusions, the reason narcissists are so hard to get along with is because the delusions of grandiosity need to be upheld by the people around them in their day-to-day lives. And if these people fail to reaffirm the delusion, that's when the narcissist gets really nasty. The people around him have obviously all been bullied into position. Dude's a loser. He's delusional. Strong, successful male channel. First video I've seen of yours. And, dude, you're just a dweeb with sunglasses who makes content for other dweebs, all of whom have girl problems. You can smell the weakness on these sort of dudes. A couple quick afterthoughts. One, this dude called his wife's mom, but not his dad. He contacted basically everybody himself and showed them directly as aggressively as possible. But her dad, he didn't. And he said it was out of respect. But this guy obviously doesn't respect anybody. Not himself, not his wife, not his kids. So I don't believe him when he says that. What I think is that probably it's more likely that he didn't do it out of fear. It's less daunting for him to talk to his mother-in-law than his rich father-in-law. So we got that bit of cowardice that I noticed after. Also, I think it's likely that this woman intentionally sabotaged her own relationship, right? Obviously, it's not a good marriage. And they got married young. When you're stuck in a rut, people have a way of self-sabotaging their life to get them out of that situation they want out of anyways. If you've got a bunch of pictures and videos on your phone and you've already got pre-existing, rules where you guys know each other's passcodes and you can't say no, and she's keeping text messages, she just wasn't covering her tracks well. It sort of smells like an intentional self-sabotage or to get out of the marriage. Just speculation, pure speculation. The last thing is just an observation that this dude's line of attack and response was all social. It's all social shame. To really work her over the best he could, he humiliated her socially. And that is a narcissist's worst fear. I mean, it speaks to the narcissist of the letter writer that this is really how I'm going to fuck her. I'm going to embarrass her. I don't know that if I were in that situation, that would be my first line of thought. Humiliation. I think it might be something more like asphyxiation. Just speculating, though. I don't intend to ever be in that situation because I wouldn't have stayed around after the first time. Another nail in the narcissism coffin is that this is how long later? How long later do we think this is? Kids are grown and moved out. He sold the house. At least 5 years, probably more. And this dude's still sitting around dwelling on this, thinking about this, hanging out on YouTube channels that are, this sort of we hate women because we suck at them channels, And he's still, when he was writing the letters, an interesting observation is that the guy had no problem using cuss words throughout the letter. But when he was describing going to the phone when she was locked out of the car, he couldn't bring himself to actually write that they were having sex. He said they were doing what. This dude has not come to terms at all with this, and it's painfully obvious in the letter. The fact that he's writing it at all, the fact that he's still thinking about it, hasn't moved on to anything else, is still dwelling on it, and still can't say what the fuck happened. If you're a young man, and you're looking for some source of advice or with women or life or whatever, this channel is not it. You do not want to be like these guys. You don't want to be this dude sitting in his car pretending to be a Chad when he's not. You don't want to be the guy sitting around years after his divorce, still hating his ex-wife, still wrapped up mentally in that. She might not live in his house, but she still lives in his head. I don't know. Do better. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is this dude strong or is he weak? And like, comment, subscribe, share.